Brickmaniacs, welcome to another episode of Brickmania TV. Welcome back. Today we are featuring the Black Bess, everyone's favorite World War I
Let's actually
tank.
start with the Black Bess.
Start with the Black Bess. Not the canned beans.
No, that's not beans. Well,
beans?
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So, Black Bess.
Black Bess.
So a lot of you Battlefield 1 players out there have been requesting we do the Black Bess, so we've done it, but I don't think it's quite what you think it is. So
Explain.
In the game, the Black Bess is a Mark IV male tank. So World War I Mark IV, which Mark IV would be, we'll talk about the male tank later. We done some research, and the actual Black Bess was not black at all, it was gray. It was a Mark IV female. And a female means you have the guns on the guns are on the sponson, just like the Mark V we previously released. Mark IV, which is the predecessor, has the guns on the sponson still, yet they are 4 Lewis guns on the sponsons, 2 on each side. So you have machine guns. And in the case of the Black Bess, or the Mark IV female, they used Lewis guns. So if you remember, the Mark V had Hotchkiss guns. Lewis guns were the gun of choice on the Mark IVs.
There we go. There we go.
So this is it. This is a historically accurate rendition of Black Bess.
So which battles would we have seen Black Bess fight in?
Oh, all kinds.
All kinds?
Well, there's
a little bit of history they're going.
There is an actual history. Yeah. There is a battle, and you can read about that in the product description. I'm not going to go too much into it. The Black Bess was actually famous because it was captured.
Yeah.
And either captured, the pictures of it were, you can see the historical pictures of it captured. There's German crew, German soldiers crawling all over this thing. Presumably it was stripped. Either it was stripped for parts by the Germans, or it was rebuilt as a German tank and fought against the British in later battles. So this would be 1917.
Sure.
Mark IVs were typically 1917. They're still working out the teething problems of the tanks, but they were starting to get involved in mass battles.
There we go. There we go. Very interesting. Do you want to go over the build now?
Sure. This is well, the Black Bess, I should just say any of these Mark IVs, it's very similar to the Mark V that we released. In fact, Yitzi was working on this, and he based it on my previous Mark V hull. Yeah. So you'll see a lot of similarities. There's some differences with the Mark IV, which is an earlier tank. It only had 1 cupola on top, and basically you have your driver and your front machine gun, which we have a Lewis gun
there.
In there. It does not have an opening hatch on the roof.
Okay.
That was something the Mark V had. I guess they saw the need that maybe the driver should be able to talk to people outside the tank or get in and out very quickly. So you have 1 cupola. The actual, this lump on the roof here is actually, that would be the access hatch. I didn't bother putting any details on it.
Sure.
I was thinking about maybe putting a sticker with hinges on it. It doesn't matter.
It's simple.
It's simple. So then you have, basically, I'll show you the top. You have this.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool details on this.
Well, there's rail across the top. Basically, is to have the unditching beam, which is this thing right here. It's secured by chains to the rail that goes across the top.
Yep.
If this thing was to get stuck in the mud, which is a lot of times it happened. I mean, it was pretty much assured that if you go into battle with this tank, you're going to be stuck in the mud eventually.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, this thing got stuck in the mud, what you would do is you would attach this beam to the tracks, drive over it, and pull your tank out. Sometimes you have to do more than once, depending on how stuck you were in the mud. Some poor guy, a couple poor guys actually, would have to climb out of here. Maybe they're under fire. Typically, you would be in a battlefield situation. You'd have to go out here, get some tools, wrenches or whatever, unchain this beam from the bar here, and then chain it to the track.
Not an easy job.
Not under fire. Not an easy job when you're not under fire. This is actually
insane.
It's a wooden beam with a metal wrap around it, so it doesn't splinter apart. A lot of times you'll see these things with the fascine, which is this bundle of logs on the roof or twigs. That's for basically filling in ditches. That kind of works the same way. They'll balance the fascine. We can have one. Oh, cameraman's getting.
Oh.
So when we were playing around with this Yitzi, made This is what they would call a reusable fascine. These were used for training purposes. It would be attached up here. You'd have a chain securing it.
That's quite the sight, first of all. Like that's
right. If you see some of the battles where the Cambrai, where they brought these things, they actually brought them in on trains with the fascine already loaded on top. But the idea being is you have to cross a trench, and some of these trenches, if the trench is too deep, the tank will still get stuck. Yeah. And what they'll do is they'll basically, when they get to the trench, they'll pull the chain, let it loose, and the thing will roll off down and fill up this hole. Tank will drive over it instead of getting stuck in the hole. Right. They made these reusable ones out of a wooden frame. They were only for training purposes.
Okay.
When they went into battle, it would be just a big mass of twigs and sticks. So something that you can pretty easily make with your own bricks. But we're not supplying it. It wasn't an actual battlefield version. It'd be a big bundle of twigs.
I think I saw a demonstration video of using the fascine.
Right. Yitzi actually posted when I was playing around with it. It was a cool feature. I decided not to put it into a kit. We could always make it an add-on pack later. The Mark IV, the Black Bess, will be around for quite a while. This is going to be one of our staple kits. With the Lewis guns, in this case, the Lewis guns are basically just attached to these casements. You only get the barrels, and these are the new buildable Lewis guns that Brick Arms has put out.
There we go.
Yep.
It's a little bit posable.
You get another one actually in the top here. What I'll do, I could actually take this thing apart.
Let's show it off. The sides both pop off.
The sides do pop off. We didn't include a figure because you can't really show the figure riding on the top of the tank or anything. They would be inside. I did have a interior designed, and it was a little bit refined. We do have this crank, starting crank. Basically, if the tank needed to get started in the morning, there's no electric start in these things. Some people would have to get out there and crank it from the inside. I think you actually stood on the crank to get it.
Oh wow! I imagine that doesn't turn over particularly easy.
It's a big engine. It's big.
Does this top part come off?
It does. It's a little bit of work. It's not really designed for easy access because it'd be cool if you could have easy access to the interior, but just like on the real tank, it's not an easy thing to get to.
Right.
So let me pull this off. I can actually pull the hole.
There we go. So it's attached pretty much by several connections with just the flex tube.
Flex tubing is making up what the roof is.
So this is kind of the roof assembly with the flex tubes.
Yeah, and you got an exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe is, in this case, it's separating because it's kind of depending on the curve of the tank to hold it together. Well, whatever. We'll leave it.
We'll fix it when we put it back.
Yeah.
But this is cool. So there's a slightly this is a bit of a departure from what we've done traditionally, but we do have a little bit of a detailed interior on this.
There certainly is. There's detailed engine. The actual Mark V had similar details. The cool thing about this is you can see the Lewis gun. So that's a Lewis gun. It's a land Lewis gun, just like on the real tank. They used a land Lewis gun barrel with air cool sleeve, but they have a different receiver setup. Instead of having a rifle stock, it has this aircraft handle.
Nice.
So we actually did that. So we followed through with that detail. Another little interesting details. The Mark IV, unlike the Mark V, which had a gun in the back, Mark IV has a hatch in the back. So you have hatches, and I can show you this on the sponsons. Under the sponsons, there's also crew hatches. So we open these up so you can see the crew can get in and out. That's the chief way for the crew to get in and out through that hatch.
Right.
You kind of have to crawl under the sponson, climb in, weasel your way in here, worm your way. This other way is through here, or else that roof hatch that was actually didn't bother building. I actually built one, and I realized it was just so much work and so many extra pieces. It wasn't worth the extra.
I'd imagine it kind of compromises some of the structural integrity as well.
Big time. I'll challenge anybody to build a good one. Build it if you get this tank. Build it yourself. Add that hatch, but it's not going to be you try to push down on the roof of your tank.
But one more thing before you close it up, I saw that there are also some spots to load up some ammunition.
Right, and that actually is a holdover. These shell racks are holdover. The original tanks were the male. They have a 6-pounder gun, so these are 6-pounder shell racks.
Yep.
And when they made the female versions, they left the original shell racks, but they just throw in all the Lewis gun ammunition drums in there. Apparently, it was not a good fit. But that's real. That's really the way it would be. You wouldn't take the racks out. They didn't bother designing a rack, special rack. Maybe they did in the later models, but I remember reading about it. They said that there was a problem.
Right.
So that's your Black Bess kit. This is your basic kit. We're going to call this the base model. Basically, you're going to have in battle, you'll probably have one of these for every one of the mail tanks. So if you're
It's pretty
wondering,
cool, pretty slick just watching it roll around.
Sure.
Cool.
So that's it. This is the Black Bess. Let's pull this out of here.
So we have an alternate version.
We do.
This isn't in the form of an add-on pack, I understand.
It
correct?
is. An add-on pack will get you. Here, I'll show you.
Here we go.
It's not rolling so smooth on this plastic surface, but this is the mail version. This is your what you would traditionally consider your Mark V or Mark IV. It has the 2 6-pounder guns plus the Lewis guns. One thing that we did that's a little different is we. I mean, if you've had the previous version, it's the Mark V, the previous kit that we did of this heavy tank. We did change the doors up a little bit. Actually, have the curve of the sponson in here. Something that having new pieces, Lego come out with new pieces, giving us this cut corner tile. This is the sponson for the mail side. Opening hatch. On the inside, you have the 6-pounder gun breech. It does go up and down slightly. It should be able to give you some elevation, some depression. Oops!
Dan, no.
When Dan pushes it out because he's not paying.
It is made of Lego.
Yeah, it's meant to be played with. It's meant to be.
Yes.
We also have the Lewis gun. So you have the Lewis gun here. There's an actual extra Lewis gun. On the inside, you do get the receiver, so you'll end up with 3 complete Lewis guns by the time you're all done. That's an aircraft Lewis gun, by the way, too. When we were showing off pictures of this, when we were just in the development stages, some people suggested making the Frey Bentos.
Yes, what is that?
Frey Bentos. This is the sort of gallows humor that goes into the battlefield. Frey Bentos is a popular canned meat brand. So they decided to name their tank after Frey Bentos because they are a can full of meat. In effect.
A little gruesome there. But.
Right. And there's actually, I would suggest, if you have a minute, go Google Frey Bentos tank. It's actually quite a story about this one tank. It was stuck in the battlefield. Actually, I think it was tipped with 2 guns up in the air and 2 guns in mud, and the crew fought a battle to defend this tank. I think it went on for quite a while, so it's pretty amazing. I was reading the story about it. So Frey Bentos, you get the stickers actually come with the Black Bess.
Okay.
Frey Bentos. So you can turn your Mark IV female into the Frey Bentos, but I believe it was a Mark IV male.
Okay.
So
yeah, the idea with this is you purchase the Black Bess kit, and then if you want to turn it into the male variant, you purchase the add-on pack for this.
Sure.
Right.
That is the as it stands right now, those are the 2 options you have. You can buy the add-on pack. You can probably try to change your Mark V into. Actually, I don't know why you'd want to, because that's dark tan anyway. One note about the color though, when we did change the Mark V that we released last year, was it a year and a half ago? Actually, is dark tan.
Yes.
Dark tan has a limited parts palette. By switching us to dark gray, we're able to actually make the whole thing a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Yeah. It's kind of a relief. I really like the dark tan color of the previous kit, but this dark gray, which we actually modeled after. As far as we know.
So that was a cool opportunity to get to model a historical version of it.
Yeah, and actually make improvements at the same time. So.
And that's always an interesting part of the process is seeing the kit designers work under those limitations of there's a limited part palette. There's certain pieces you just can't get in quantity.
It is.
You might be able to buy 1 or 2 pieces, but if they cost you $10 a piece, is that really feasible to put into a kit?
Right. And it's the same goes for doing the minifigs too.
Right.
We're able to kind of take a leap up. And,
so
on that note, we should talk about the minifig.
Yes. Okay. We do have a standalone minifigure that we kind of designed to correspond with. This is a World War I British tank crewman. And so he is, this is the first time I think we're seeing him here. He was just handed to me by the print guys
hot off the press.
Like a second ago, so that's cool. So he's just featuring a really basic jumpsuit. Just probably goes over his standard uniform just to keep it clean, because I'd imagine it's pretty grimy in there. Mm-hmm. And to show off that grime, he's got some grime on his knees. He's got some grime on his elbows.
Show off the grime.
Showing off the grime. Some distressing going on here. And he's just wearing the standard boots of the time. We have a pistol belt with the open top pistol holster. There's a lanyard on there, little ammunition pouch for the pistol. And then I'm featuring the Splatter Mask again.
Splatter Mask that's for
Yeah. It's
Protect from spalling.
Protect from spalling. If you want to talk about what that spalling
Sure,
is.
spalling means basically chips of metal. So like basically you have an armored box here and you're getting shot at with high velocity with rifle bullets or worse, bigger. So here's your armor, here's your bullet, bam, it hits there. Well, a lot of times what will happen is a piece of armor or piece of the armor will flake off at high speed on the inside, usually very hot, or if you hit a rivet or some other lucky shot, basically chunks of metal would be flying around inside this tank. Every time you get a hit, you have risk of spalling. You know, your protective clothing will help your body a little bit, but a flake of metal in your eye and it's pretty much game over, at least for the time being until they get it out. But that's that mask is basically chainmail, or you'll have similar concept for the World War II bomber pilots. They'll wear goggles that have basically a metal shield with tiny little slits in it.
Cool. That is the Black Bess. For more information, check out brickmania.com. Thank you very much for watching.